Howdy folks, Lost Astronaut here, just showing you some updates to our game, Fringes of the Empire. This video is for people who are interested in how the game is made, and also how they'll be able to add their own content and distribute it for the game. This is a editor called the Fringes platform editor, and I'm working on a wiki that will outline how to use this editor in grave detail. But here we have a just a basic editor. It's really powerful. It does a lot of different things. So the first thing that I'm going to do is turn on solid mode and just draw a little level for you. Actually, I've just remembered it's loaded a level that I was working on last night. You can see it here. But I want to start over. So I'm going to go ahead and start over. New editor, or new level in the editor. Completely blank. Now, the box is the tile that you're drawing. This is a platform editor. And before we get moving, this is not the final version of the editor. This is very much a version of the editor that is in development, but a lot of the functionality is here. A lot of the tiles have already been picked. A lot of the things have been completed. The part that's a little fuzzy is some of the objects that go into the game. There's got to be a lot more. There's only about 13 right now. In the end, there'll probably be 100, and we'll probably have to make a better object browser. But for now, let me just show you basically what's going on here. So the first thing you want to do is, if you're going to be building a level, is hit the S key to create solid blocks that the player can walk on. And if you look down here, there's a 6 with a little green box. The green box means that it's the collision layer. So things that happen on the collision layer are collision and opacity, light blocking. There's also setting up staircases and some other little nuances that go into this. But for now, we're just going to create solid blocks here for the player to walk on. Let me pick a nice tile. And I'm just going to create like a flat area, and you can see it's marked solid. I'll zoom in on that so you can see that. Alright, so then this is layer 6, and if we go down to, say, layer 4 or even layer 2, we can now put some background in there. So let me hit the F7 key going into decal mode, and you can see that there's this big list of graphics, and there's a little preview up there. And let me pick one of the stranger graphics that I've collected or drawn, and we're just going to stick it right there. So you can see there's 2 copies of the image there. One is in green, and one is in white. The green is just indicating that it's selected. The white image is actually the image itself, and while it is selected, I can click on these various things to change the rotation of the image, the scale of the image, etc., etc., until I have what I want. And so that being said, there's a fine background graphic. Let me just you can hit these little keys that set it to various directions, but there's that, and then you can tint it, or you can add additional ones. So then maybe that's layer 2. I usually do the odds later and the evens in the beginning. The reason why is because you sometimes want to add something between things. It's just easier if you pick the odds and then the evens. In this case, we're going to put a mountain behind this, and we're going to have to make the mountain bigger. Oops. So it's unlike most editors. It's the one you've already put down, not the one you're about to put down. And it's interesting that it does not scale that. Why isn't it? That's some weirdness. Alright, well, That is so weird. Why is that? Oh, again, it's the... Well, I can remove it by holding down Control. You see the white boxes. You look for the one in the center of the object you're trying to remove. And you should be able to click and remove that. What the hell is that? That's odd. Look into why that's happening. But there's a big mountain. Going to make it a little bit smaller. Oh, there. I'm deleting things. There. Okay, so it's a little bit smaller, so we're just going to put this mountain in. And you can probably barely see it. It uses onion skinning in this editor. There it is. It's about the right size. So you fiddle with these things at the bottom to kind of like put the thing in. It's not the most advanced editor, but everything is done in a very certain way so that you have complete control over everything. So let's exit decal mode, F7 again, and now we're going to place the player spawn. So down here you'll notice that there's a couple of settings. There's like these clocks and this waveform. Okay, but in addition to that, there's E, I, and O. And E sets the blend mode, which in most cases is normal as pardon that sound. In most cases, normal is what you want. Now, if you hit O, it will change the AI to player spawn. Okay, if I hit O again, it goes to network spawn, and then none. Okay, so whenever that is set, when you click to draw a tile, that appears. One thing to note is that all of the AI stuff and the object stuff down there has to happen on layer 6. And layer 6 is the collision layer, like I said before, where you can create the solid. So I went to 2 background layers, and I put 2 objects. One is a mountain, and one is a forest, weird creature, kind of cactus thing. And now we're going to place the player spawn right over here. So I just draw a tile and then erase it. We don't want it to be solid. There. So now the player spawn is there. You've got the solid blocks at the bottom. Let's fill in some dirt underneath the blocks. Okay, it has to be a little bit bigger than that because the screen is approximately the fourth of this. So if you see this, there's a very fine black line here, and that indicates what a quarter of the screen looks like. So you can have a rough estimate of where the extents of the screen are when you actually play the game. However, the coolest feature of this level editor, and what is really reminiscent of Load Runner, which is like a really neat old game, is that you can hit F12 and test the game live. So right now it's loading up, and then voila! Oh, it's really dark and it's snowing, but if I walk along here, you might catch his head. But anyway, so it's really dark, so we have to you can kind of see the outlines of things. But let me hit escape. And what has happened is we've neglected to create lights. So there's these 2 white dots down here, and if you click them, they change to different lights. You can right-click to go backwards or left-click to go forwards, and then there's this long bar at the bottom, and that's the light scale. And about halfway between the little tick mark here and the beginning is a pretty big light, and we can place several of these. So I'm going to place several of these to kind of light the area that we're walking through. So what was happening there is the background is fully lit always. Then you can obscure it or change its color with various tiles and modes. Then finally in the foreground you have a lit area, and then in front of that you have a semi-lit area, which I'll go into greater detail on the wiki. But now that I've added the lights, we should be able to see the guy walking. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm just going to do one more little task. So there he is. And it's a snowy day in this planet, and he's walking along there. And he can, if you hold the control key, he can move his arm according to your mouse. So if he had a pistol, for instance, which he does, let me switch. Oh yeah, there's a bug there. So he has an inventory panel and stuff like that. There's a bug up there in the inventory panel. I can't show it to you right now, but this game has been in development since April. I've built another game that I had to pause because it just wasn't going to get done anytime soon, and couldn't find any funding. And so now we have this game, and it's actually shaping up rather quickly. It did take a lot of effort, but in the last 8 months, I've been able to really get a nice game going. So, here it is. This is just one part of the game, of course. The other part of the game is flying around in space, and these two games are going to be merged. And at the time that it merges, there may be some cutbacks because basically it couldn't do that much. But I think that we're pretty close to a workable combined version of both games. The other game is a top-down shooter where you fly around, then you get to the planet, you click land, and you end up someplace like this. It doesn't have to look like this, but it could look like this. And it's a fun game, and you can sort of add objects to this world, and one of the objects you'll be able to add is a person, and you can make them talk and things like that using a very, very simple scripting language. So you can say things like to change the background and change the music and things like that for your level. Then once you have a bunch of levels, you can group them together with a third script called a campaign script, and that'll allow you to package that up and give it to somebody, and they can load it into their game. And once they've loaded it into their game, play it as a campaign, it will add to their character's motif. The only restriction with this that is maybe available in some other games, but not every game really, is that you can't really add objects after the fact. I have to add the objects myself. They're all scripted inside the engine. So let me just show you some of these scripted objects. So there's a bunch of lights, but I'm not going to use those right now. I'm just going to put some computers around. You can hit B and F to put them in the foreground or the background. You can also place them precisely. When you place them precisely, you actually gain the ability to modify them. Whereas if you just place them quickly, they aren't modifiable. So these are kind of like simple objects that are easily put together. So we'll put this computer here. It's a nice big computer. And let's see, we'll put these servers in the background here. And so, actually, I'm going to change one of them because I have several of them. Let me see here, Control I. So whenever I hit the I key, I can select different ones. I happen to know what they are. Eventually, this might change to be a little bit easier to work on. Oops, that's not the right one. We're going to go back. There it is. And put it in the wrong place. All right, put it where it's supposed to be. Now, if you set, like the other way, if you set it to nothing, if you set it to no object, then you can delete. So let me hit F12, and we're going to start it up. And it takes about 5 seconds to get it from the editor to the game. So here we have kind of a computer system that I've kind of deployed there really quickly. And you can see that there's a lot of cool nuances to these computers, and you can have even more of them. This large computer that you see here will be the way that the character controls his spacecraft, as well as it'll appear in the game in other places too. But the idea is that you would come up to this and click, control spacecraft, and at that point it would go to the top down view. So, thanks for listening. Please support us on Greenlight by giving us a yes vote, and have a great day. We'll be back in touch later on in 2014 to try to get some funding to continue this game.